Hey guys, Youngblood with you, and what I wanted to do in this video was actually cover the Idris that is in-game during Invictus Fleet Week. Again, this is one of the ships that actually escorts the Javelin in, so we get our kind of, our first real look at this in the verse and actually flying around. It is a really great ship. I'm not going to spend this entire video comparing it to the Javelin because the Javelin is an entirely different class of ship, and you can really see that when you see the Idris in this dock at the security port. Because it's just a different category of ship. It is significantly smaller. That being said, it's still a monster. You compare it to something like the 890 Jump, and it's 32 meters longer than that. So there's a lot that this ship can do, and it brings a lot of firepower, and it's really pretty exciting to actually see in the verse. So with that, there are three different versions, kind of the Idris that are going to be coming. The one that we have here is the Idris M, the military variant. As far as the weaponry on this one, it does have a missile launcher at the front. It's actually an anti-ship missile launcher, which I think when you actually look at that terminology, it really applies to all missiles. That being said, what it does is it actually brings 10 size 5 torpedoes. And you can see the launcher here. As far as the way that it's designed, I'm not sure if we're actually missing the doors or if it's just glitched open or whatever it may be. I've heard some commentary from CIG that this is hard to design, but ultimately that's going to pop up and be able to swivel around kind of in a remote turret capacity. Other weaponry on this ship, you end up having 6 turrets that are going to have 2 size 5 Galderines. Those are the laser repeaters. Really where those are located is you have 2 up on the shoulders of the ship, kind of on the left and right side of the bridge. One is designed to face forward, one is designed to face backwards, and that applies on starboard and port. And then you have 2 of those that are actually on the belly of the ship underneath. Those are all manned turrets. Up on the nose of the ship is where you'll actually see the only STS turret on the Idris M. That is going to have 2 size 7, what looks to be the M9As. Similar to what we were seeing on the Javelin. Again, this is going to be the your primary damage to other ships for most of the Idrises out there. The one that we actually have here in the game is actually the Idris M, which means that it also comes with the size 10 mass driver, otherwise known as the big ass railgun at the front of this ship. The size on this is hard to comprehend until you actually fly up here, and I'll kind of go into third person so you can see what this actually looks like. But it is just an enormous weapon, and it's hard to imagine how much damage a projectile round coming from this gun actually can do. Although it is worth noting that the size of the gun is not even, it's not a real equivalency to what size of projectile is going to come out of it. So big ass gun, but keep in mind, so with a little bit of perspective, what this is actually going to do. Okay, so aside from that, the Idris is really designed to be a kind of a pseudo carrier. What you're looking at there is almost like the barn doors that will open up. I already showed the back side of the ship where there is a kind of a drop-down flap. So essentially down the entire center of the Idris is kind of a fly-through hangar. The idea is that you have about 4 to 5 fighters that can actually live on this ship and deploy. They exit the front of the ship, they come back in through the rear of the ship, they can refuel, they can rearm, they can repair. Your pilots don't have to worry about quantuming. It's a really good and kind of elegant system. That's obviously not really functioning too much right now because we don't really know how much of an interior this ship has at the moment. That being said, it is something that should be coming in the future, and we've actually seen some gameplay on it from some of the squadron stuff as well. Aside from that, the Idris M, it carries 831 SCU of cargo, so it does a fair amount of cargo as well. There are 2 other versions I already mentioned, the Idris P and the Idris K. The Idris K is the Peacekeeper. This is the model that the majority of the people that own an Idris have. What it does is it carries a little bit extra cargo, 995. It carries that cargo, though, because you don't actually have the railgun on the front of the ship. There's probably some armor components to that as well. On the Idris P, you don't have the STS turret and you don't have the railgun. Instead of that STS turret on the front, you have just an additional kind of like ASA turret, so you end up having 7 of the turrets that actually do that have the Galderines on it. So it's kind of underwhelming there. Now, what they decided to actually do, though, was sell kind of an upgrade kit as part of like their militia initiative, allowing people to turn their Idris Ps into an Idris K. And what that does is, it actually will slap a size 10 laser beam on the front of your ship. the phrasing there is a little bit questionable. I think what we all assume this is going to be is a beam weapon. If you've played Elite Dangerous, you're familiar with the concept of a beam weapon. It's actually pretty exciting to see what's going to be coming. Aside from that, you basically have most of the same things, you know, on the ship as far as like the 6 Galdarine turrets. You know, so I don't know. It's going to be cool to see. A laser beam weapon sounds really exciting. The one thing that I'm not entirely sure of here when I'm looking at these ships and kind of the stats that I've seen out there is that I've seen that there's supposed to be 4 remote turrets with 2 size 4 revenants on it. To me, on the Idris M, that sounds like a point defense system, but it's not specifically called out like that. When we talk about the Idris K, it is called out as a point defense system. So I'm not sure where those are at on these models, or if they're not in the game yet, or if they pop out from a hatch somewhere when they're needed, but we'll just have to wait and see where those end up being. So that's your Idris tour, well, at least from the exterior at a security dock in space. But if you guys have questions on this, please let me know. Otherwise, I appreciate you all watching. Stay tuned for a lot more coming soon, and have yourselves a wonderful day. Take care.